Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the International Webinar Series on Holistic Health, Well-being, and Sustainable Development 2024, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 77 years of independence, and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns. Also, commemorating and celebrating Viksit Bharat 2047 in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Arts, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
So with the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. Today is commemorated as International Cello Day. All cellists unite for the International Cello Day on December 29. It's all about celebrating culture and music of aficionados. The cello is a bowed string musical instrument with 4 strings turned for perfect harmony. It looks like a large violin, which one can play while sitting down and holding it between their legs. This day is celebrated not only by cellists, but composers, conductors, and music fans as well. This day observes the birthday of renowned cellist Palbo Casals. International Cello Day is notable for all cellists around the world. All cellists and composers band together in the memory of one of the most well-known musicians and composers of all time, Pablo Casals was born on December 28, 1876 in El Vendrell, Catalonia. With the teaching of his father, he was exposed to the world of music. At an early age of 4, Casals learned to play the violin, piano, and flute. With his love and interest in all these instruments, he entered Municipal School of Music in Barcelona and learned to play the cello. Casals has been named the greatest musician ever to draw bow by Fritz Kreisler, a known violist and composer. Casals became legendary in the music industry and the whole world in the early 20th century when he made a name for himself. He performed as a soloist and with different orchestras. He enormously added to the field of music. He is most remembered and acknowledged for his recordings of the Bach cello suite, which he created and rediscovered in the later half of the 1930s. Before this, many cellists regarded them only as exercises, while some did not believe it was a real published piece of music. With the new revelation and popularity, music was never the same. There was an influx of the suits recordings. All cellists suddenly had to know the suits, and more composers created works based on them. The Pablo Casals Festival is an event that runs for 2 weeks. All artists and musicians around the globe are invited. It continues to run today and celebrates the conductor himself, Casals. One obvious thing that makes the cello unique is its size, as it is bigger compared to other instruments in the string family, such as violin. People who have tried both instruments tend to say cello is less difficult due to its more natural position than violin. So, experts say that the best age to learn to play cello is from 6 to 7 years old. Studies show that a person has better mathematical and scientific skills since there is a cognitive improvement when you master the art of playing the cello, or for that matter, any musical instrument. It has been scientifically proven that every person who had listened to classical music has better mental skills. This is a fact, especially when they compare it to those who listen to other forms of music. Today is also commemorated as Mongolia Independence Day in Mongolia every year on December 29th, which is a great day of glory and happiness for the Mongols who gained freedom after years of being under Queen Chena rule, also known as the National Revolution of Freedom and Independence Day. This day commemorates Mongolia's autonomy, and this day is all about showing love for Mongolia, raising the national flag, dining out, and of course, viewing some awesome fireworks. So this year, step up your game and celebrate the amazing day like never before. After all, the country's independence is something that should be cherished and applauded till the end of the time. Mongolia had been under the Chinese Qing dynasty rule for quite some time. However, due to several differences with the Chinese rulers and the Mongolians, craved a state of their own, like any other nation that is taken over. The biggest problem Mongolia experienced was the fight for the retention of their culture, which was slowly being replaced by the Chinese way of life. During 20th century, the fire for independence grew, and the Mongols started to take action to free the nation from Qing dynasty. In May 1911, the Qinghai Revolution overthrew the Qing dynasty and established the Republic of China. Seeing that Chinese had problems of their own, the Mongols utilized this opportunity and managed to free themselves from Chinese rule. On December 29, 1911, Mongolia officially declared its independence from China. The spiritual leader of the Tibetan Buddhist was proclaimed the head of the state. He was given the title of Bodh Khan of Mongolia. Unfortunately, Mongolia was only able to maintain a few years of peace and freedom before the Chinese returned to Mongolia and forcefully occupied the capital city. In fact, the Chinese also pushed the Mongolian government to sign a document that forfeited their autonomous status. At this point of time, Russian Bolsheviks stepped into aid the Mongols. So the Outer Mongolian Revolution took place in 1921, a revolution that was fought with the help of Soviet troops. Of the troops reclaimed Ulaanbaatar from the Chinese, Mongolia was declared independent once again from 1921 until 1924. Mongolia worked to establish a new government. Today is also commemorated as Pepper Pot Day. It is meant to celebrate a soup that nicknamed the soup that won the war. The war here refers to the American Revolutionary War for independence from Britain. The Philadelphia pepper pot soup is thick soup made up of basically non-vegetarian type, but nowadays can be made with vegetarian, whatever vegetables are available. And of course, peppercorns. This peppery soup has a long history and probably originates from the Caribbean. It was brought over to America by enslaved people who later sold the soup out in the streets. The soup was made popular by African American Philadelphians who would sell it right out in the street. The traditional recipe is said to have a cassava as well as the soup thickener. During the war in 1777, the winters were harsh and the farmers refused to sell food to the Continental Army and instead sold it to British. Christopher Ludwig was the baker general, which meant that his primary task was to bake bread for the troops. But in this scenario, with no grain to eat in sight and face the prospect of starvation, George Washington put Christopher Ludwig in charge of feeding his men, and Christopher Ludwig presented the pepper pot soup. So the soup was that what the army ate to survive that winter, and it's how it earned the nickname, the soup that won the war. The pepper pot soup was the only food that the Continental Army could get their hands on in the winter of 1777 to 1778 in the Valley Forge. During that time, the army trained and emerged better, ready for battle. Soup is delicious and vital part of Philadelphia's history, so people still enjoy. So try the vegetarian, go animal cruelty free and eco-friendly. Today is also commemorated as Still Need to Do Day in US. The Christmas rush is over and you should be feeling calm. So what's that subtle is itch deep inside you, that one's tugging at you, haunting you, reminding you that despite all holiday successes, you still never fix that leaky faucet like you said what you would. Or lucky for you, the year's not over yet, and there's in fact a day tailor made for you. On December 29th, don't forget to take advantage of Still Need to Do Day when folks across the country will use what remaining time that they have in the year to make some final checks on their year-long to-do list. So in downtime between opening presents and banging posts and pans, consider what you can get done in 24 hours this December 29th. Perhaps this December 29th, you can have a house-wide day of getting things done. Ask your kids to come up with their own checklist so the two can have satisfaction of progress and completing tasks, or you can create a central theme such as everyone taking on a duty in the kitchen, and by end of the day you will have gotten more done than you ever would have by yourself. So this could be a great way to bring the family even closer during the holidays. Whatever you choose to do, the most important part of Still Need to Do day is simply to get it done, to make that happen. The most important and the most difficult part is to just get started. You may not want to, you may not even know how to, but getting started is the first and only step together, getting it done as a basic, as they sound. So you have got 2 days left in the year and only one day dedicated to getting things done, what you are waiting. If you still haven't fixed the things, don't beat up yourself. The fact is, it's celebrated around the country serves as a reminder that procrastination is part and parcel of being human. We can take comfort in knowing that everyone needs a day to play a catch up and also share in the misery that is cleaning the junk at the bottom of the oven. We are all in this together. So there is a simple evidence that suggests completing tasks and making progress are critical for overall well-being. One Canadian study even found that procrastination has a direct correlation with obesity, poverty, and depression. So by committing one day to ticking off a few more interns on your a few more items on your list, you can feel good about heading into the new year with a clear mind and a clear body and home. Today is also commemorated as TikTok Day in US. which is celebrated on December 29th every year. This day serves as a reminder that the year is coming to an end. So get around to finishing pending tasks on your to-do list. With the holiday season beginning in November, and it's only natural that life becomes super busy and a lot of work gets pushed aside for later. Maybe you wanted to clean up your home or you got to figure out your plans for the New Year's Day. Whatever the task is, TikTok Day is a reminder that there are only 2 more days left of the year and you'd be better get around to finishing the tasks you need. While TikTok Day is an opportunity to tie up any loose ends, it is also time to look at what tasks go in the new year and what should be crossed off from the list entirely. This is the day when people get down on wrapping up all the work they need to finish before the end of the year. For some organizations, this is also end of their financial year, so they get down to work on closing all their accounts. TikTok is the sound of an analog clock makes as the hands move forward, so the day is named after the sound to remind us about the time moving forward. There is also commemorated as Falls Festival history in Australia, which is held every year between December and January, usually ranging between December 28th and January 8th. This year it will be held on from January 29th to January 8th. It is a multi-day music festival held in Lord Victoria, Marion Bay, Tasmania, Byron Bay, New South Wales, and Fremantle, Western Australia. While its primary called a music festival, there are many other types of artistic performances, such as dance, comedy, theater, circus, and cabaret. Music genres to expect include rock, hip hop, indie music, electronic music, blues, and roots. For the 2022 festival, the Lorne event will be relocated to Pennyroyal Plains in Maroon and will not return to Marion Bay. The story begins in 1993 with a small one-day concert held in Lorne, Victoria, named Rock Above the Falls. The first event attracted nearly 11,000 people, exceeding the organizers' expectations, and they had to negotiate the use of neighboring land to accommodate the crowd. The festival became a two-day event in the 1995, and the following year, the name was changed to the Falls Music and Arts Festival. 1999 was the first time the festival was not held at Lorne, being moved to the Torquay site due to bad weather. The 2003 festival was the first time two events were held simultaneously, one in Lorne and one additional event at Marion Bay, Tasmania. The same performances took place at both events. The December 30 acts as that played at Lorne played 31st at Marion Bay and vice versa. So both the Lorne and Marion Bay festivals have continued to run smoothly simultaneously, except for the 2022 edition, and artists continue to be exchanged between the two locations throughout the festival. Subsequent festivals retain this two-location format. In 2013, the Brian edition of the event was introduced, increasing the reach of festival across the country. In 2019, the festival at the Lorne site was cancelled due to extreme bushfire risk during the 2019-2020 Australian bushfire season. The Marion Bay edition of the festival was unfortunately cancelled permanently in 2021, with organizers citing low revenue from the event. Today is also commemorated as Constitution of Ireland in Ireland, which was formed on December 29th, and every year on this day, Ireland celebrates its ratification. Without a solid constitution set in place, the country becomes a lawless land. In fact, this is the very document that decides the rights of the citizens, the proceedings of the court, and the laws that the country follows. And since Ireland's constitution is within the tradition of liberal democracy, it is definitely something that needs to be celebrated. Since its independence, the constitution of the Irish Free State was the document used to govern the country. However, in 1937, this was replaced by the Constitution of Ireland since the state of Westminster 1931 granted parliamentary autonomy to the six British dominions. The Irish Free State Constitution, on the other hand, was associated with the controversial Anglo-Irish Treaty, which many had opposed. The new constitution further dismantled some previous acts and new and improved amendments were added. The Constitution of Ireland is a symbolic document that changed everything into Irish as well as English. And this was done by recognizing English as a second official language in the Constitution. Among other things, the Constitution of Ireland granted women the right to vote as well as right to citizenship on an equal basis with men. Article 41.2 states that the state recognizes that by her life within the home, a woman gives to a state a support, without which the common good cannot be achieved. The state shall therefore endeavor to ensure that mothers shall not be obliged by economic necessity to engage in labor to the neglect of their duties in the home. Furthermore, the Constitution of Ireland guaranteed freedom of worship and forbade the state from creating an established church. Articles such as these have a great impact on perception of the citizens over a period of time. Moreover, the Constitution also decides all legal and other human rights commitments made by Ireland, including treaties under the United Nations, the European Convention of Human Rights and Charter of Fundamental Rights of European Union. To truly celebrate the Constitution of Ireland, search for a documentary that gives a complete account of how the document was formed and who created the text for it. You are bound to learn many interesting facts. Ireland's population is over 4.9 million. It is the only country in the world to have musical instrument, namely the harp, as its national symbol. There is a place in Ireland known as Mokangate Dowhaulia, which is the longest name of a place. Ireland is named after a goddess that existed in their ancient history. Eriu, River Shannon is the longest river in the country. The constitution of a country ensures the justice system and provides an outline of how the country will run. Hence, the Constitution of Ireland greatly affects the country's law and order systems. The day gives a historical outline of Constitution of a country and was formed. We also learn more about certain rules and regulations were formed. So with this, we shall end today's commemorations. Thank you everyone for joining us. We request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form, which will be raised in the form of polls before you leave the platform. See you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night. The feedback form has been raised in the form of polls. We request everyone to quickly fill the feedback.